My earliest memories of the old house on Elm Street are warm, bathed in the soft glow of sun through lace curtains. It was a typical suburban home filled with laughter, the smell of baking, and the comfortable clutter of family life. But even as a small child, I remember a subtle disquiet. It started small, almost imperceptible, a faint whisper, just at the edge of hearing when no one else was around. A toy shifting on a shelf when I swore I hadn't touched it. The distinct impression of being watched from an empty doorway. My parents dismissed it as childish imagination, the creaks and groans of an old house. I wanted to believe them. As I grew older, the occurrences became more defined, more unsettling. Objects would consistently go missing, only to reappear in impossible places. My toothbrush in the kitchen, a book tucked inside a pillowcase. I'd wake in the dead of night, certain I felt a cold breath on my cheek, or heard a faint, deliberate dragging sound coming from downstairs. My dog, usually placid, would sometimes stare intently at empty corners, a low growl rumbling in his chest, his hackles raised. I tried talking to my parents again, describing the unsettling aura, the feeling of not being alone. They just attributed it to vivid dreams or an overactive imagination, perhaps from reading too many ghost stories. The worst began after I turned 12. I started seeing things, not full apparitions, but glimpses. A fleeting shadow darting across the hallway, too fast to be real. A distorted reflection in the corner of my eye in a darkened window. The distinct sensation of someone standing directly behind me, only to turn and find nothing. The house itself felt colder, darker, even during the day. The air would thicken, making it hard to breathe, and an unbearable pressure would build in my head. I became withdrawn, constantly on edge, constantly searching, constantly feeling watched. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams were filled with the same unseen presence, always just out of reach, always waiting. The climax arrived one stormy night. I was alone in my room when the lights flickered and died. Pitch black. The oppressive silence was immediately broken by a slow, deliberate scrape across the floor of the hallway outside my door. It was heavy, methodical. I froze, holding my breath. Then, the doorknob slowly, agonizingly, began to turn. I heard a soft, wet thump, as if something had just dropped on the carpet outside. My mind screamed at me to move, but I couldn't. The door creaked open just an inch, revealing nothing but the profound darkness beyond. But I felt it. A crushing, malicious presence pouring into my room, suffocating me. The last thing I remembered was a cold, unseen touch on my arm, and then oblivion. I woke up in my own bed, the morning sun streaming through the window, making the previous night feel like a fever dream. But the dread lingered. My arm felt strangely cold, and a faint, almost invisible mark, like a bruise that never fully formed, was there. I tried to talk about it again, but my parents just looked at me with a new kind of worry, urging me to let it go. They said I'd been sleepwalking, talking to myself, and that I seemed very agitated. They never mentioned the mark. I ended up moving out not long after I turned 18, leaving that house and whatever was in it behind. Sometimes, even now, years later, I still think about that house. I hear the old creaks in my new apartment and wonder if it's just the building settling, or if it's a faint echo of that unseen guest. I often find myself checking for that mark on my arm. It's gone now, but the memory isn't. And I still occasionally wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I felt a cold breath on my cheek, and for a terrifying moment I'm back in that childhood bedroom with something unseen watching from the darkness.